you guys doing today? Hope you're awesome. I'm awesome. I got a day off. It's kind of nice outside. We got a bunch of rain, so I'm at the garden in between rainfalls. It's going to be 42 degrees Celsius today. That's about 107 degrees in freedom units for all of my American brothers and sisters out there. So we are currently working in the tomato patch. Holy light. So we're currently working in the tomato patch, and if you watched one of my videos from a few weeks ago, you saw me rebuild these trellis netting because it was all hanging down and it had caused the plants to kind of curl over on themselves. So it's caused some really weird growth. But what's happened with that is all the sun leaves, when they were all bent over, they've stayed that way. And I've got, right behind the camera here, right there, I'm working in my Roma and my San Marzano patch today. And what's happening is there is so much leaf cover that it is completely shading all of my fruit. And I mean, guys, there is fruit everywhere. We're gonna have a bumper crop. There's very little blossom end rot. Now I do plant every plant with a large amount of calcium. Okay, so the other symptom of blossom end rot is, or the other cause of blossom end rot is infrequent watering. I have not hand watered this garden in going on a good month and a half because we have had a ton of rain, which is fantastic. I mean, my soil is nice and moist and happy, and the plants are loving it. But the problem with that is, with all of that rain, I'm worried about my plants catching diseases because there's not enough airflow running through the plants, because I garden in a square foot gardening method, so everything is really tight together. My tomatoes are 12 inches apart, and that's measured with a tape measure. All right, so if you guys saw me design the tomato beds, you saw me literally measure it all out, and I painted it, and everything is cut like to the inch, 12 inches. So what's happening here, and I'll give you guys a walkthrough from what I've done so far. Sorry, there's glare on my phone. It gets a little out of focus on me here. I'll show you what I've done so far, and then I'll show you what it looks like before I've touched them, and you'll understand. All right, so we're down between two rows of tomatoes. These are my large tomatoes, right? You guys can see we've got stacks and stacks of beautiful big old tomatoes that are ripening up. So I'll deal with those after. This row here are Romas and San Marzanos. So you guys can see how everything is curled over on itself. It's all hanging down weirdly. So normally what I would do is I trim up the sun leaves here to just above the first fruit set. But because I have fruit sets going all the way up the plants, right? Like, look at them all. They're just clusters and clusters and clusters and clusters. So, like I was saying, so when the trellis kind of collapsed, the plants all bent over on themselves. And so now I think I'm suffering the repercussions of that based on how that initial leaf growth was happening. Okay, so what I've done is I'm going through, like, look at how many fruit sets are on that. 1, 2, 3. Look at that. Bam, 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 bam. Isn't that beautiful? So what I've done is, I single stem my tomatoes right off the bat. So just so you guys know who don't follow all of my videos. So what I'm doing is I'm trimming up all of the leaves way up. Okay? Way up. See, fruit set. There's another fruit set. So I'm trimming right up to here, and I'm making sure I have enough foliage at the top to continue their growth. Now, I also just fed these last week because it was feeding time. Oh, there's a sucker. I missed that. Tear that off. So what I really need to be careful of is disease getting in my plants, because they are so close together that if I get a disease in here, that I'm not going to be able to deal with it because it's just going to be so extensive. Like, look at 1 fruit set, 2 fruit set, 3 fruit set, 4 fruit set, 5 fruit set, just on that one vine, and it's only 3.5 feet long. Okay, so you can see here, I'm trimming off all of those leaves all the way up to here now. So I have two whole fruit sets right underneath it and another one right on top of it. Okay, so you can see how I've done that so far, right? Everything's nice and clean and lifted. And then look at here. Look at this. It's just a massive, massive, massive jungle of thick leaves, right? I'll walk you down the row so you guys can see. We'll just turn around and get another angle. So you see what I'm saying? Compared to down there, you could see all the fruit sets growing up. And down here, everything is just buried. So I'm going through with my pruners. Get my pruners here. Hang on, we'll set this camera up here. Hang on, give me a sec. So I'll show you what we're doing. Hope this stays in frame here. I got to work around the camera. So we got to come in and then start tracing our way up the plant, figuring out what's a fruit set and what's not. And that's the other issue here, is it's so thick in here that it's a little hard to see what's what. And I've got branches, I've got leaves from the plants beside it growing into the plants that I'm trying to trim. So it's also a visibility problem. And the last thing I want to do is cut off a fruit set and lose all that fruit. So we're just coming in, and if it's way too shady under here, we're just cutting it right out. But like I said, we're making sure we leave enough foliage that the plants are going to be able to continue to grow healthy, right? Because we don't want to damage the growth of the plants. And then sometimes you have leaves growing off the end of a fruit set. Another thing I'm doing when I come through to make sure that I'm keeping everything thin is I'm picking off every single sucker that I find, because we don't need those. They're just in the way. See, it's just a massive jungle in here. There. Come through from the bottom. And this is going to do wonders for the plants. It's going to help everything grow that much better, that much healthier. The risk of disease is going to be drastically mitigated. And then when I prune all these up, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come and tie them all back onto the trellis. So I just trimmed up. So I just trimmed up just 3 plants. This is what I took off. The size of a huge soup pot, right? So that's what I'm doing today. I'm coming through and we're doing disease prevention, because if we don't, we're gonna get diseases. It's a certainty. So trimming, exposing all this gorgeous fruit to the sun. So I'm gonna work my way down the line, and when we're all done, I'm gonna come pick up the camera and we'll go through a walkthrough. And I'll show you the massive difference between what we have now and what we're gonna end up with. And in case you're wondering, I've already filled up 4 5-gallon buckets with about 12 tomato plants, and that's packing those buckets full. So, right? Stuff them down. And we're gonna work down the line. Okay, get this out of here. We got work to do. I'll be back. So we got it all done. Look at that. Remember what it looked like before? You couldn't see those fruits because I'm at the end here by my leeks, right? So this was the portion that I showed you that we needed to trim up. And look at the difference now. Look when you look down the row. All those gorgeous fruit are all exposed. We took out so much. See, and this also gives you another chance to come through. So, see, we got a little bit of blossom end rot, but only a couple. If you guys watched this last year, I probably threw away, at least probably 60% of my Romas. So, not this year, lots of rain. So now what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna tie these up. See, I love seeing that, just rows of fruit. And so now I just got to get some clips and tie those tops up, and we'll call that part done. And then here are my large tomatoes. So I've cleaned those up a little bit. They didn't need much. There was a couple of diseased leaves on there, so I clipped that up. But some of the ones like that one there had a bunch of disease on it, so I had to cut it up, because if not, I would have lost the whole plant. So, but the growth tip is still healthy, so it's going to keep going. So these are we've got mortgage lifters and black crims, and then we've got some Tommy toes and some sugar lumps, and then I think those are called midnight happiness or something. So lots of tomatoes. So a lot of these big ones, as they're ripe, I'll take them home and I'll just cut the core out and I'll just put them right in my freezer. I'll keep a couple on the counter to eat, but. So there's a good look at the Romas now. Stepping back a little bit, all that exposed fruit. And now they're gonna ripen so much faster too, so. All right guys, well, that's my tomato video, and that's why you really need to keep your plants trimmed, okay? Having a jungle is okay, but make sure it's a manicured jungle. All right, guys, have an awesome day. Grow good food. If you're not subscribed here, you should smash that subscribe button and leave me a comment, and have an awesome day. See ya. Grow good food.